Since his inauguration as Governor of Anambra State a few days ago, Professor Chukwuma Soludo has set tongues wagging. Not only was his inauguration low-key to reflect the kind of government he will be running, Soludo kicked the ball rolling by immediately announcing the appointment of a secretary to the state government, Accountant General of the state, and his deputy chief of staff. In his inaugural speech, Soludo also reiterated his administration's reliance on made-in-Anambra products. In keeping with this promise, the light refreshments made available to dignitaries at his swearing-in, as well as his 27 million naira official car, were all produced in Anambra State. The goal, according to Soludo, is to boost the productive capacity of the state and create jobs. Despite the praise he got from these gestures, the state has several challenges which Soludo must confront head-on to live up to the lofty expectations of not just the people of Anambra, but the entire country. Like all states in Nigeria, Anambra has an infrastructure deficit. Its education and healthcare sectors are dilapidated, while insecurity and the menace of IPOB remain unaddressed. Expectations are piling up, and the people of Anambra have voiced out a few things they would like the governor to focus on. Oviete May George has this report.
That was the 10th of November when Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo was declared winner of the Anambra governorship election.
I, Charles Chukwuma Soludo,
do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
4 months later, the man from Iswafia in Agwata local government area takes the oath of office as governor of Anambra State.
I present to you the Soludo solution, our contract with the people, which we intend to vigorously implement subject to resource availability.
Expectations are piling up for a man who is less than 1 week in office as governor. Ifeanyi Ibebugu owns a printing press in Awka, the state capital. The businessman wants the new governor to address certain issues in the state.
We are calling on the new government led by Professor Soludo to look into the infrastructure development of the state, the roads in particular. You should look into the keke business so that they will stop this parking on the road at the center of the road and be picking passengers. Another one is that they should look into the multiple taxation of revenue. Is very high in Anambra State.
The people's expectations do not come in short supply.
Professor Soludo, our governor, I believe in him. So I believe that he can deliver the state to the promised land. I believe in his discipline, his experience as a former CBN governor. I believe that he will be the best governor of Anambra State. They say administration of citizens starts from grassroots. So I want him to look into the grassroots level to understand what the people need, what they want from him.
I would like him to focus on road infrastructure. Of course, you know, once the roads are good, businesses will be flourishing. Seriously, I have confidence in Professor Charles Soludo in performing very well, even beyond Mr. Peter Obi. Because each time we talk about good governance in Anambra State, even in Nigeria, we talk about Peter Obi. So I think Professor Soludo will perform beyond Peter Obi, and that is the prayer.
This is the Eke-Awka roundabout in Awka. Tricycles and other means of public transport add to the sights and sounds of the busy area, popularly known for commercial activities.
God has given us a nice governor, and we believe that he's an intellectual man without being told, and we believe and we have prayed that by his grace there must be a change in cost of living. This banana normally is supposed to be at least 1,000 naira, but now this is 1,500 naira.
I like Soludo, and I expect him to give us good electricity, then repair our roads, then free education. That is it.
So why are you here? You should be in school.
I don't have money now. School fees are very expensive, so I don't have money. That's why I'm hustling to get money to go back to school.
I'm very, very happy that he went to Okoko and see the poor people there that have been crying for a long time. And I know he's going to do a very wonderful job in Anambra. He's going to make poor people laugh.
The commendations are laced with expectations from a man who first nursed the ambition of serving his people about 13 years ago, but today is in the saddle of governance in Anambra State. Ofieteme George, Arise News.
Now joining us from Awka, the state capital, to give us more insight into his plans for the state and how he intends to achieve them in the face of limited resources, insecurity, and competing interests, is the Governor of Anambra State, Professor Chukwuma Soludo. Good morning, Governor Soludo, and thank you for joining us. Hello.
Good morning. Good morning, and I think it's really a great pleasure. Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, clearly I can hear you here in the studio.
Are you?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Are you here? Are you hearing me?
Yes, certainly.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. And let me say good morning, and thank you for having me. And let me also thank you at the Arise for your massive support. You stood by us throughout this whole journey, and also at the inauguration. And here you are again today, and thank you. I just listened to the little documentary that George put together, and that's quite... Well, that's the reason why I keep awake in the night for the last few days and for the last few years. And here we are. I applied for the job, like you rightly said, for 30 years, and then persevered. And finally, the people have hired me. And so I'm ready to work.
Okay, Professor Soludo, first let's start by congratulating you on this, achievement, and also to congratulate your party, Akuga, as you guys call it, to educate those of us who are not from Anambra State. But very quickly, expectations are very high. You've talked about the Soludo solution. You've been on that since 2009. Our mutual friend, Sidon Adinoba, granted an interview the other day, and he said, you are the most prepared governor ever in the history of Nigeria. Are you really prepared for this job? And what are you bringing to the table?
Well, I said that at my inaugural speech. In 2009, I applied for the job. I would say at that time reluctantly. I would say at that time I was literally, dragged into to contest. But then after going around the state at that time and going around the 326 wards, then campaigning and getting a feel of the nature of the underdevelopment challenges, it turned out from being a reluctant person trying to volunteer for public service at that level to almost becoming a passion, a lifetime passion, to really be able to get down to work and help in some very important ways. And for those years, I have reflected time and again on what these issues are, what the problems are, what the challenges are, and they're quite enormous. They can be quite daunting, I must say, as you've rightly said, in terms of the magnitude of the challenges. But I have a single-minded conviction that they are not insurmountable. We can do something about it. And it's not just about me as a person. The key resource that we have happen to be the people of Anambra State. their resourcefulness, their commitment, their love for the homeland, and their enterprise is their biggest resource we have. And if we mine this appropriately by mobilizing all the talents and the treasure that the people embody, I mean, we can really turn Anambra into whatever we want it to be. We have a blueprint. And like I said at the inaugural speech, I chaired the Vision 2070 document, and where we try to see Anambra in 50 years' time. And I also put together my manifesto, Soludo Solution, a People's Manifesto for Greater Anambra. And then you have the Transition Committee report. These three documents provide, if you like, a compendium of both the summary of where we were, where we are, and where we need to be, and what we need to do to get there. And so, in a sense, for me, both from practical experience, being a village boy who is always in the village, and traveling around the state myself, studying this myself, feeling it every day, I think I fully understand where we are, and where we need to be. Where we need to be in terms of building that livable and prosperous homeland. And what actually also we need. The resources are paltry, I must say, almost zero, if you like. But we are undaunted, as I said in my inaugural speech. We will get water out of the stone with the people working with us, mobilizing the people to work with us. We will be able to get that water out of the stone and to make a very important beginning. Anambra has all the potentials, but also equally matched with the challenges as you highlighted. So the short answer is yes. My first sentence of my inaugural address was that I applied for the job. And the people have hired me to do the job, and I have come in my own little way, humble way, prepared, but I don't know everything. The people, like I said, happen to be the major resource, with everybody chipping in their own advice, volunteering what to do, having their civic responsibilities as citizens, paying their taxes, their levies, helping to clean up the place. I think we will go very, very far in building that livable and prosperous homeland. So I am prepared. And I believe also the people are.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Governor. Let's talk some more about those potential challenges. I mean, you referred to in your inauguration speech to the limited financial base. You also referred to the peculiar structure of our system that we operate here in Nigeria and how that impacts a subnational state like Anambra. And there's also the issue of security, which you also referred to, which can tend to impede whatever progress any administration tries to make. How will you address that? And then the fourth issue, already we've seen some kind of resistance to reforms, which is, it always rears its ugly head, doesn't it? Like you called for a halt to the collection of cash payments, and there have been reports of some people attacking those who are not paying the 200 naira or what have you. So how do you intend to surmount these obstacles?
Well, these are not all the things that we're going to discuss fully. Answering each of those questions requires like almost a book. Nigeria, for starters, Nigeria, as well known, has a peculiar federal structure. And that's what I refer to as a unitary federalism. I mean, almost all the powers, most of the powers, essential powers, are concentrated on the exclusive list, so to speak, and literally everything. Power generation. And I thank the National Assembly in an attempt to amend the Constitution for taking power out of the exclusive list and all of that. So even as a state governor, you couldn't independently promise your people power, to have power to them. But hopefully if that is put in the concurrent list, then we'll be able to do something about it. the fiscal structure of the country itself, even the headroom to generate your own independent revenue, a whole lot happen to be put at under the exclusive list. The company income tax is in the exclusive list and all kinds of things. So, yes, we have a peculiar federalism. On security, like you said, the governor is the chief security officer, but basically all the security agencies are federal institutions, as it were. But like I said in my address, we will try creatively. I mean, I understand a little bit about how the system is structured and how the system currently works. And, but with some creativity and some collaboration and cooperation with the federal government, I believe that is, for us, is to maximize the limited headroom. I mean, if we are here and there is still headroom here, I mean, ours is to attempt at least, however short the headroom might be, let's first of all maximize what is available, in the hope also that over time the headroom will also be extended a little bit better. So first of all is to maximize the existing opportunities that exist within the confines of the law in terms of what we can still do within the concurrent legislative list and given the available resources that we have. We're going to explore all kinds of creative means of even revenue itself beyond the usual, so to speak, to be able to collect revenues to do this. So I made that point. Within the federal structure, it's not perfect. It's a work in progress. And together, all Nigerians will work to continue to move towards what I call better, a more perfect union. No society ever has a perfect society, a perfect union. But we will continue to work towards that. Now, in terms of, and so that addresses also the issue of resource base. There are all those constraints and challenges, as you mentioned, almost like a poultry resource base. But we're going to ramp up internally generated revenue. And we'll also be, exploiting all kinds of other financing options, including project finance, development finance, and all manner of other federal institutions and their interventions and so on. We'll maximize on all of those. And then also building on the people themselves. Again, the people of Anambra, very, very resourceful. Their investments, inward investments, because it's not just government investment that will put Anambra on the map as we desire. Private investment is going to be the key. And we're prepared to provide that environment, enabling environment, to be able to do that. I had some people in the documentary that George put together. If you listen to 3, 4 of them, each of them mentioned road infrastructure and so on. And we are declaring a state of emergency on roads, getting touts out of the road, and so on and so forth, decongesting the traffic, addressing their health challenges, cleaning up the place, and making it green. There are quite a whole lot of them that don't cost an arm and a leg. But we're going to get started. I mean, we're already getting started with what we've done in the last 4 days, working days that we've had. And then you talked about the resistance to reform. That is normal. That is to be expected. Actually, I foresaw what you just reported in my inaugural speech, that these people, these revenue touts and the park mafia and so on, would resist. I put it's in my inaugural address. So when I hear them, going to fight back and so on, it's not surprised in any form. But we are determined, we are focused on this, and we must rid a number of touts and illegal operators. Law and order happen to be the very first essence, at the foundation of anything, of every society. And we must restore law and order. It is estimated that about 35–40% of people who come to shop in our nation and environs have relocated elsewhere or going elsewhere to shop. And we want to return our nation to its glory, so that shopping around in our nation and in Anambra in general will be a pleasurable experience. Commerce is the base, the primary base of economic life here in the state. And we must do everything to make shopping and living in Anambra a pleasurable experience. For it to be a livable state, we must get this. The bad, the 0.01%, 0.00 whatever percent, just an infinitesimal minority of the people cannot hold the entire society to ransom. And we are determined, we have the structures now in place, and we'll unleash them if they want whatever where they want it. We're prepared to meet them in the street and liberate the common man in the street. This government is about the common man.
Great, Your Excellency. Thank you so much for that. And I remember the good old days where my dad would talk me in the car and my siblings, and we'll have to drive all the way from Warri to Onitsha because we wanted to get some school items. But those days are not there any longer. But I'd like to ask you about Okpoko. You visited Okpoko, and I saw the pictures and the footage out of Okpoko, and I was sad. You need a massive urban regeneration to happen in Okpoko. Where will you raise the money to do that? That's one. Number two will be about, you called stakeholders to the table as regards insecurity. You called IPOP, and you said those that are fomenting trouble in the state should stop. How are those conversations going? Have they, responded to the call? And how can we stop the case of insecurity in Anambra State? But at first, Okpoko, massive urban regeneration. How are we going to get the money to do it? Because that will cost a lot. It's been years of neglect.
You're absolutely right. Quite frankly, when I talk about Okpoko, when I visited the place, at certain times I struggled to hold back, tears. I became really very emotional several times during that visit, to see the conditions in which people live with heaps of, waste, mountains, with the height running into meters high. I climbed some of them. And the people, living next to it, and you couldn't even breathe standing there. But there are people living just beside them, and that's the air that they breathe every minute of the day, and shops all around the place. It's really, yes, to answer your question directly, it's going to cost an arm and a leg to even clean up the place. Just cleaning the place. And we're going to begin. But the important thing is the determination to begin. We cannot, for fear of the humongous thing, and then decide to say, oh, well, it's too big, it's too... I can understand why it's been left that way. Probably because of the cost, probably because the challenges seem almost too humongous to even try to dare. But we're determined. Step by step, one step at a time, we will, for example, the entire drainage system of the Onitsha metropolis into the River Niger has been blocked. People have built up houses along the drainage channel. It's completely filled up, 15-meter deep drainage, 15 meters. Completely filled up. All the drainage ways, gutters, and so on and so forth in Onitsha, most parts of the state, completely full. And we're going to start off probably next week or thereabout. We'll probably devote about 2-3 days in the state to just open up, clean up the gutter, just get them out. and then get them to the first place of where we would put them on our operation Clean Up Anambra to start with, so that the next heavy rain is not going to get people, because when it rains now, much of furniture is flooded, and people die every year due to this flooding places, and people, carrying cars, if you see the speed of the flood, turning vehicles, and people dying on a yearly basis. And this we're determined to solve, even if we got to raise whatever resources and however. And we're already working hard at it about financing options on how we get there. But we must make a beginning. We'll also be appealing to even the international community, the federal government, as it were, and then, of course, our own people here. And I believe between those three parties, us, federal government, and the international community, the donor and development agencies, with whom we'll probably be meeting in the next week or so, I think we're going to do something. There are basics, like I said, cleaning up the place, the silting this, which is going to be humongous, and then basics of water, electricity, even if it is solar-powered street lighting, so that people they're in darkness, total darkness, forgotten there. Over 1 million people trapped there, so to speak. For me, my heart bleeds, coming from a humble background and seeing poor people left in that kind of state. As I look in the faces of the children there, I could see potential professors, potential engineers, doctors, medical doctors, potential president, potential anything. They could be the people that will rescue the world of anything, technology, innovation, experts, and so on. But if we don't rescue them now, the world loses. And that's why I'm very, very, passionate about that place. A system is as strong as its weakest link. And Oboko and the environs seems to be that weakest link in terms of the chain. It's the biggest urban slum in the southeast. And certainly, I don't know of any bigger urban slum in Nigeria. I don't know of any. But it's quite huge. And we will give it a go in the next several months, the next 1 year, 2 years. We're not saying it's going to be fixed in one day. It's going to be a journey, but there is a trajectory. And our commitment is that every month, every 6 months, we will evaluate progress. And not only Oboko, we're also going to have a regeneration commission on our major urban areas, our urban renewal agenda, starting in the first instance with the 4 key ones: the Greater Onitsha urban, Awka urban, Nnewi urban, and the Ekwulobia urban. These are the 4 oldest urban areas designated as urban centers, even in the time of Chief Chukwuma Soludo in the old Anambra State. So we'll start from there as model. And once we're able to do that, we'll now take the template and begin to replicate this all over the state. But yes, it's going to be quite expensive. But the important thing is that we start off. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one major step. And we're prepared to take even 5, not even 1 at a time.
Okay, Prof. All of that is nice. But beyond Okpoko and the urban regeneration plan, you know that one famous tradition in our democracy is to talk about 100 days in office. Now, in 100 days from the point of your inauguration as swearing in as governor, what are those quick wins that you can point to, that you expect to point to, so that when we say, oh, it's been 100 days since Governor Soludo assumed office, this is what he has been able to do? And secondly, how much of a distraction for now is that cat fight that upstaged your assumption of office, your swearing-in ceremony, the car fight between Osodieme, the wife of the...
Which one?
Osodieme.
Which one?
The fight between Ebelechukwu Obiano and Bianca Ojukwu. I consider it a car fight. Must be some kind of distraction to you. Those two issues.
Okay. Well, I come to you 100 days. You raised about 100 days, and you talked about the cat fight. And I think, let me start with the second one.
Professor Soludo.
The second one.
Professor Soludo, sorry to interrupt you.
I don't think it's distraction. It's only the comic relief.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm being told that there's some technical detail that we need to work out. So we'll take a short break, and then when we come back, you can respond to the questions. That gives you a little time to reflect on them. We'll be right back. Stay with us. It's still the Arise News channel. Welcome back to the morning show here on the Arise News channel. Our guest is still the Governor of Anambra State, Professor Chukwuma Soludo. Professor Soludo, thank you very much for staying with us. Okay, now we're back. The technical details have been worked out, and you can continue with your response.
Oh, thank you very much. I was, when you were talking about the cat fight, I got laughing and then reminded me of the several videos that I have seen following that, including those, I think it was an Arise. I was looking at it. I saw that on my TV in the office yesterday or so, with people from Port Harcourt having their morning exercise and rehearsing on their, practicing on their slapping. For me, it's just the comic relief part of it. It's just the comedy that has emerged from it all that I have enjoyed. Actually, that's no distraction whatsoever. I think it was meant to be, and it has added, I'm sure, maybe some time to come, there will even be some maybe movies or comedies out of from what I have seen, and even a song that has emerged out of that. So absolutely no distraction whatsoever. As you saw, I didn't even notice much of what happened. I think it happened while I was trying to go to sign the oath of office and oath of allegiance. I mean, it was just like 1 second thing. There was something there. I just turned again and continued signing my thing, and I haven't had 1 minute again discussing that, other than the comic reliefs, you see on posted. Other than that, absolutely nothing. We're intensely focused on what we must deliver to our people, working every day, Monday through, from that day I left office, probably put in more than 9 hours on that day of swearing in. And same day at Okpoko, we were there first thing in the morning till night. Saturday I was in meetings till from morning till 6:30 to 7 p.m. Sunday after church service, we were at the prisons, to see the inmates and the inspectors and see how we improve their living conditions, as it were. Yesterday, I was in the office morning till night, and then here again, I'm up. After this interview, I'm in the office. Out there, absolutely no distraction. There's work to be done. It's work, and that's why the people employed me as their chief servant. And I'm here to serve. I'm here to work, and absolutely to entertain any distraction. That's not part of bargain. Second, you asked about 100 days in office. This is, okay, you said this is the usual, but this is not a government of the usual. To be honest with you, I don't think in terms of the days. Yes, we have deliverables and timelines, but I'm not counting them in terms of so day, that day, what day, and so on. What I'd rather want you to look at, and my focus is, I know I have 4 years to do this job. And actually, I think it's about 3 years and 8 months to take decisions, as it were. The last 4 months It's transition. I don't expect lame duck session. 3 years and 8 months, that's what effectively. And I'm not going to miss any 1 minute. So whether it is the 10th day, it is the first day, it is the 100th day, it is 200 days or whatever. But my own sense of milestones, I think in terms of the first year, by the 17th of March next year, where would we be? What would we be able to say? The next 6 months, where would we be? Whether 150, 200 or whatever. But we're putting quite a whole lot. And you wait on the 100th day, you will be the one to tell me what has happened and what hasn't happened. But for me, I'm just plowing. This week, the list of the commissioners will get to the House, and hopefully in the next 2 days, they will read the list. And then we'll get to work. And once they approve the commissioners, we'll hit the road. But even in between that, before that happens, we're already firing on many cylinders at a time. At the 100th day, you will be the one to tell us what is it that has been done. Maybe George can come back and go to see, go to a book and see what has begun. Have we ever done anything? And if we have done anything, what is the outcome? And so on and so forth. So don't let me tell you, stay here and list out to you, by the 100th day you will see X, Y, Z. But how do they put it? There is a name of a church I saw in Congo. It's Viens et voir. It's come and see. So George will come and do the documentary then and tell you what he has seen again.
Well, we'll be looking forward to that, Mr. Governor. Can you now tell us about your Made in Anambra agenda and why it's important to you? I see that you're still wearing your Made in Anambra. You're really flying the flag here and being that chief marketing officer that you said. You're using an Inaugural vehicle as your official vehicle. How far are you going to go in this marketing? Can we expect to see your other fellow governors also using Inaugural vehicles, every MDA in the country using Inaugural vehicles? Tell us about this agenda and how far you're going to go with it.
Let me tell you, it's not just me. It's the way the world works. It's the way the world works. You will not say, if you will not get to Europe and find any government, any European government, using or buying Japanese Toyota for the operations of their police or for their president or for their officers and for use and so on. That government will come down the next day. You will not say go to China or whatever, and Philippines or whatever, and get their leaders or so on wearing fabrics that's not met in their homeland. That's how you create jobs. How else? How else? And if you don't do that, you do that through public procurement. If you want to get funds from the US or from wherever and so on and so forth, it's America first. You're going to patronize made in the US. That's what it is. This thing I'm wearing, this slip-on that I'm putting on. You won't believe it is made in Obunike there. Some people say it and they think, oh, this must be an Italian thing. The next stage we want to do is to encourage them to proudly label it Made in Anambra, Nigeria. And not when you see them. You go there, you see them making it. When they finish making it, they stamp it Gucci or stamp it Prada or whatever. The next is we want to encourage them to be proud, brand it. And that's because our people have that mentality that, unless it is imported, it's of no quality, it's of no value. No. It's when we patronize what we have here. Can you imagine 250 million people patronizing textiles that we met here. What will happen to jobs? You're going to create tens or hundreds of thousands of jobs. Tens, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of jobs, right away. Just by patronizing this Akwete thing, they can't even meet the order in terms of the demand. Because now a lot of people, place orders for Akwete because it's hand-woven. And the women can't meet the order anymore. Even the price inching up. And now we're going to help them get the technology to also mass produce this. And that's more jobs. Jobs, jobs, jobs. So the Made in Anambra agenda is integral to A, the way the world works. That's one. Two, it is the best way that you use government high road. The developed world, the industrial world, the way they go. President Clinton had what he called in the Ministry of Commerce, had what he called the trading floor. And that their job was to open markets all over the world for the export of made in American products. That's create jobs. And they told the story, Time magazine, The Economist, at one time when he was talking about the neo-mercantilism, told the story of how Raytheon and a French company competed for procurement, I think in Mexico, in Brazil, to get a contract, and how even the president got involved to get the contract for Raytheon, the American company, and how they created 20,000 jobs. This is the way the world works. So we're not doing anything fundamentally different. But that's the way that Nigeria, not just Anambra, must go. That's the way we must go. Made in Anambra first, made in Nigeria first. We'll eat our food, we'll drink our drinks, we'll wear our clothes, put on our shoes, wear our thing, and we'll create millions of jobs.
Okay.
Because you demand for them.
Okay.
That's it. Every country does that.
Okay.
So it's not just a thing, a very temporary thing for sure. It's something that I deeply believe in, and I'm going to live through that.
Okay. Two things. I asked before the case with IPOB.
Are you there?
During your inaugural speech, you talked about talking to IPOB security stakeholders in the state to stop the high level of insecurity. Like on Mondays, they are still sit-at-homes. Businesses can't thrive. SMEs are suffering in the states. Have you had that conversation? And let me ask you this, Your Excellency. What did you meet on ground when you assumed the position of governor? What was the level of challenge you met on ground?
The level of challenge we met on ground in terms of?
In terms of the dearth of infrastructure, in terms of funds available, in terms of everything. What did you meet on ground?
Okay. No, thank you very much. I think let me go by, in terms of the sequence. The first is the security issue and the discussions. The discussions are ongoing. As I announced, even on my inaugural speech, my first meeting after the swearing in, immediately after I signed that, I went into my office right away. And the next, few minutes after that, I started the Security Council meeting of the state, which I scheduled to last for 2 hours, but it ended up lasting more than 3 hours, as the case may be. So I am fully debriefed. The conversations are going on. And I think, I believe strongly that we'll get it cracked. It's probably not going to happen one day, but we're going to crack it. The sit-at-home thing will definitely end. And I will work in having conversations with all the stakeholders IPOB, everybody else who are trying to engage everybody. It's the people's power that will prevail at the end of the day. It is the people's power that will prevail at the end of the day. Like I said, the poor, innocent artisans, the keke driver, the bus driver, the woman selling pepper, the vulcanizer, the one that, the masons who depend on daily toil and sweat to eat, they are the ones who are suffering. They're the poor people. For the elite, they can afford to have, a holiday on Monday and watch TV and watch Arise on their DSTV and so on. But what about these guys who don't even have electricity, who don't have anything, who depend on going out there to rough it out? The traders, the people who do what we call Ebo Safia, they don't have any shop, but they're just loitering around. If you need anything, they run, go and get it somewhere for you, and that's how they eat. If you stop them from going out, they starve for the day. Who is the loser? And then people who would have come to shop in Anambra start going out on Mondays, they go elsewhere. Who is the loser? You're just impoverishing the same people every day. And everybody is a loser. And I know that will definitely stop, and we're working hard at that. So the short answer to your question, I don't need to tell you any further details than this, is that we're having very serious conversation around that. Like I said, we're determined to restore law and order to this state, because without it, nothing else happens. And
what did you meet on
the question
ground?
is about what we met the state. Well, what we met on ground, actually, there is what I can only tell you is as follows. First is that in terms of finances, there is an audited account, which is public document. Okay? It's public document. Anybody can access that. The audited account of Anambra State as at 31st December 2021. That's already published. It's public document. Anybody can access it. You can get it. You see our assets, liabilities, and so on. And then, of course, as at the last date, what you now have to do is between the audited account as at the end of the year and as at the day of handover, if there were further liabilities and all of that. But in terms of the audited account, certified and published already, everybody knows that the state finances are not quite robust, to put it mildly. The debt is probably in the range of 100 and something billion in terms of debt. And then cash, in terms of what I saw at the end of it, a few 100 million or so. That's what the state has. I mean, that's the base. But we're still going to have the reconciliations and have all the accounts from January to the date that we take over. And we put out, and I think it's best practice, actually. When you ask this question, we intend to have a very transparent public finance management where we're going to publish everything. Everybody will know what is there, what is not there, what penny comes in, what it is used for. And that is our aspiration. That's part of our promise in our manifesto, to have a very transparent public finance management. And part of it, like I said, is the audited account, which is a public document. You can look into that, and everybody can get a copy of that and see that. The debt, the liability, the asset thing, and so on, and the cash that we met. I think, if I remember correctly, the cash, the various banks, 200-300 million or thereabout. then, about 300 or 400 million naira, and then the audited account as at December put the debt at about 109 or thereabout billion. That's what I saw. So, but we'll take from there. For me, that's baseline. When we do the other contingent liabilities, contractor debts, and the other bits, we'll pull up all those. It's not what happened. For us, is to draw the line and then move on. That's it. That's the baseline. That's where we met, as it were. And
well, Governor
we'll get
Soludo,
on to now see where we get resources.
Governor Soludo,
how we're going to get resources.
Yeah, okay. Let's move from the village to the center. And
yes,
we have just a few minutes to go. We'd like to have your thoughts on, one, the state of the Nigerian economy. Electricity has become a problem. There's fuel scarcity. Evasion problem is problematic. Inflation is going through the sky. The CBN is introducing a number of measures. And you were once upon a time in charge of monetary policy in this country. And you were most recently, even up to now, a member of the Presidential Advisory Body on the economy. What do you think has gone wrong around here? And what guarantees can you offer us that you will not have problems with your predecessor, who seems to have his own travails now, and also with your deputy, Dr. Ibezim, because after a fashion in Anambra, predecessors and successors are always fighting, and deputies are not always in good terms with their principals.
You've asked tripartite questions that, and you said you don't have time. So let me just give you one sentence response on each of them. The first is the center, the state of the economy. I am now, thank you mentioning the different hats I wore in the past. And now, as governor of my state and a member of the National Economic Council, I also have an opportunity to offer, and we have a meeting, I think, on Thursday. So I have another platform to share my views on the state of the economy. In that sense, so whatever I say, and you railed out some of the challenges, and I'm sure everybody, the National Economic Council, the Central Bank, the federal government, the ministerial, and so on and so forth, everybody is working hard at that. And I would rather keep my views on my own, for now, to share them at NEC. National Economic Council. And that's where you have all the state governors and with the vice president as the chairman. It's a constitutional body for Nigeria where we meet to review the economy and profile suggestions and views. I would rather share that within the context there and not here. The second part of your question is about my predecessor, whom every time and everywhere I must say, Governor Willie Obiano is a good man. And I will say this over and over, he's an honorable man. A man who, in my relationship with him, and I wrote it on the, my inaugural address, what is rare in Nigeria today is that people don't keep their word. And when he and I met, we met in August, met in September, met in October, and finally in November of 2016, I accepted his proposal for us to work together politically and so on. And 2017, I did everything to keep my own part of it. And many people didn't expect, just in the usual Nigerian way of things, that he would keep his own part of the understanding or partnership. But he did after 5 years. And for me, that's really historic. And I don't take it for granted and say, after all, he met his own part of the bargain. After all, I met mine. No. It's very easy for people to just walk away. He didn't. And remained very committed. He loves Anambra, and he loves Nigeria. And he did his own best, to the best of his ability, and so on. And thank God this is Apuga. We're on a continuity. We continue with the things, the strong foundations he laid, and where we think it didn't quite work well, our job is to make amendments and continue the trajectory. I don't envisage any such. I'm not a petty fellow, and neither is he. I don't expect him to give us any problems, nor do I expect to. What for? I mean, that would be silly, actually. Typically, what often leads to the kind of friction that I see in many cases is when people leave office. They have difficulty living. They still want to live and want to be the one calling the shots and determining, who will get what and so on. But he's not that kind of fellow. And I know that, and he has repeatedly assured that and said so publicly. And so I don't see much lines for friction and all of that. And I will be eternally grateful to him and the Anambra people for him remaining an honorable person and a leader, I must say. So, despite whatever the travails, and I hope he will be, I'm happy he's been granted bail, and he will have his day in the process, and they interrogate the process, like every other Nigerian who are appalled by somebody taking a video of him in that room and circulating that. I mean, he's entitled to a minimum degree of dignity and so on. That's not the way you go for. If we say he did something, investigate it, but not ridicule the person, humiliate the individual. But having said that, well, now on the deputy front, I'm not quite sure. I've been through this road before. I've had, I was governor of Central Bank, and I have 4 deputy governors that worked with me. Not enough. So I'm used to the circumstance of working with deputies. This might be a different terrain altogether, but absolutely, from the gentleman that I see, I don't envisage. I think he knows basically what the job of the deputy governor is. I know what the job of the governor is, and you do the job of the governor. He does the job as deputy governor. He's my deputy, and I don't. I think we're gonna bond together to give Anambra the leadership that the state deserves.
Well, thank you very much, Governor Soludo. We wish you well, and we say to you, it will be well with Anambra. Thank you very much for joining us on the morning show this morning.